There is a big difference between intermittent and temporary raise in vibration and a permanent raise in vibration, or in the frequency of vibration that you operate on. So one of the biggest misconceptions that I've heard that I no longer subscribe to or believe in, just in my experience over the past 4 years of manifesting with such power and intentionality, is that mood does not manifest. And so there is a lot of teachers out there that say that you must be high vibe in order to manifest. And first thing I will say is that we are manifesting no matter what vibe we're in. So no matter if you're happy or you're sad or you're inspired or you feel like you're frustrated or you're disappointed, there is always a manifestation that is being pumped out. Where the misconception is that we believe then, okay, so if I'm pumping out happiness, that I will only get things that make me happy. And if I pump out nothing but gratitude, I will only ever get things that make me feel more gratitude. And so we think that mood, or the way in which we feel in a moment, directly manifests an outcome. And I think that that's a misconception. And one beautiful example that I just talked about on an Instagram Live recently is, okay, so explain to me then how we have very unhappy, sad, bored, angry people with a lot of money, living in big mansions, driving fancy cars, having these beautiful big businesses serving the world, yet they're absolutely miserable. So that is evidence right then and there that to manifest, you don't need to be in a high vibe or in a happy or inspired mood all the time. There is more to that than simply mood. And so what is that more, right? What is that thing that manifests then? And so I like to speak about frequencies of vibration versus mood. So the mood that I'm in right now, and I'll say I'm happy because I am feeling pretty happy in this moment. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk to you. And so the vibe that I'm in, or the vibration, or the way in which my energy is oscillating, is probably fast and high like this. I'm like, you know what? I'm happy. I'm feeling good. I'm smiling. Feels nice. So that is emitting out energy for sure in this moment. And I'm going to get a different reaction from the people around me if I'm really, really happy. So I will probably find I'll notice happier people. I'll smile at someone, they'll smile back at me. That vibration has a reaction. And so a temporary raise in vibration will temporarily change the fabric of the 3D world around you. And you'll notice that. But what I want you to actually think about even on a deeper level is, I don't want to just change a couple of people's reactions to me in this moment. I want to actually change the timeline with which I'm operating on and change the entirety of my human experience. So this is permanent manifestation. This is intentional and conscious direction of source energy towards what I desire, and it is much more than whether I'm happy or sad. I have made money in some of my saddest moments. I have had some of my biggest successes in moments where I maybe doubted myself a little bit, or where I was a little bit worried about something, or had that contrasting experience. But in those moments when I was sad, I still maintained a happy identity. I still was in an inspired and empowered state of being related to who I believed I am. So instead, what I want you to do then is, instead of just raising your vibe or changing your mood, I want you to start actually operating on a new frequency of vibration or a new timeline as a new and elevated version of yourself. Okay, so now we're getting into not just vibe and mood, we're actually talking about identity. Who you believe you are and who you see yourself as. This isn't just one little facet of you. This is multifaceted, and I would even say it's multidimensional. Like this work can take you many, many places and change your experience. So for me to go from the identity of a nurse who worked full-time in healthcare, who was paid an hourly wage with a pension and benefits, that identity and way in which I saw myself put me at a timeline here where I lived in a small town in Ontario, Canada, had a small house, had my daughters, and made a certain amount of money and experienced life kind of like I say it was a little bit more average and not so extraordinary. But so what I did is I decided to create a new identity, a new idea of who I could be, a grander version of myself. Somebody who has an extraordinary life, who creates an extraordinary impact on the world, who believes that she is worthy and capable, who has an identity of being a CEO, an entrepreneur, a business owner, maybe even a mogul. That is a completely different way of seeing myself than the way I saw myself before. And so now my outside world is very different. I have a very, very different experience of who I am. So essentially, how this resonates to mood though, right? So how this resonates with mood is that the identity of who I am today, it feels a certain way. There's an emotional conception of who I am today, and that is what impacts the law of attraction. So everything draws to me based on the emotional conception of the identity of who I am. So the question then is asked, how? How do I create this new feeling or vibration of this new identity? The first thing I always say is self-awareness. If you don't know how the you think you are today feels and how she operates, she operates, you will not be able to create a new idea. You won't be able to feel an empowered way until you know what it feels like to be disempowered. You can't experience richness in life until you've experienced lack. So what does it feel like to be you today? And this is something that I actually journaled in the beginning was, what does it feel like to be Kathleen today? And I started writing down words like self-conscious, shy, I was afraid to make decisions. I was tentative in the way that I moved. I hesitated a lot with who I was. I didn't take bold and daring action. I would just kind of like dip my toes in the pool instead of jump right in. And so right away I could feel, oh, I see what she feels like. So what could an elevated version of me feel like, right? So the version of me that's a CEO, an entrepreneur, has a big, beautiful business, travels the world, has a larger house, makes an impact on the world, owns her own charity. What's she like? And what does she feel like? How does she walk the world every single day? And right away it was like, she's bold, she's daring, she's confident, she's loving. She really, really believes in herself. She makes decisions quickly and boldly. She's unafraid, she's fearless. Like right away you can start to feel the feeling of what that grander version of you can feel like. And another little tip too is that you can look at other people in the world that are doing big things like you want to do, and you can actually be inspired by them. Because if I go over here and I look at, let's say Ashley Graham, I resonate so much with the way that she shows up in the world because she is a woman in a beautiful curvy body that is unafraid and unapologetic and is stunning in the energy that she shows up every day. So I looked at her and I said, okay, so what is it that she shows up as that I would like to see in me? And, that confidence, that boldness, that it's almost like she's just being herself, that just effortless naturalness of being you and being okay with who you are. The most important thing that I always say to people is that anything that you see in someone else is just a reflection of something that's just within you, but you just aren't allowing yourself to see it in you yet. So if you see it in someone else, that means it's available to you. And so when I look at Ashley and I looked at some of the qualities that she has, I was like, oh, I'm gonna see those same qualities in me. And that's how I started to really tap into these different feelings of who I can be. But there is also this place that I want to make sure that we understand, this idea of permanent. What do we mean by that? Like a temporary raise in vibration or identity versus permanent. A lot of people come to me and they will say, I really can manifest so well. Like I am good at manifesting. I once manifested this. Or I manifested in this part of my life, but not in this part of my life. So it's this inconsistent, intermittent manifestations. And what's happening there is that you haven't created a permanent change in the frequency of vibration that you operate on. So you've likely raised your vibration temporarily for a short time. Maybe you took a course and that person really inspired you and they got you thinking on a higher level, and then you left their energy and you're back to who you always thought you were. So it is about transformation. And in order for you to become somebody who manifests effortlessly going forward and gets whatever they want in life and everything is always working out in your favor, it's an identity and a way of being that you choose to encompass and become and permanently remain in the new identity. You cannot be serving two opposing masters at one time. You're either in the new, grander version of you, or you're over here going into past versions of you that you're comfortable with, that you've always been in. So I really work with people on permanent transformation and on subconscious reprogramming. So not in a sense as many other people would teach it, but I truly believe that we can reprogram our subconscious mind in an instant, and we can change a belief about ourselves like this and never accept that old belief again. And so what if you could do that today? What if you can say, effective immediately, I am health. Effective immediately, I am abundance and prosperity. Effective immediately, I am confidence. Effective immediately, I am love. I am bold. I am daring. And then act in the assumption of that. There is nothing more powerful than an act of self-definition. So when I decide I'm going to be confident today, I'm going to, within 30 seconds, be like, okay, what's a confident action I can take? What's a loving action I can take in this moment? What is an act of peace that I can go and do right now that's going to create peace in my life? If I believe I'm abundant and prosperous, how can I go and spend money in the feeling of having money and be so grateful for the ability to circulate that money? So acts of self-definition will help you embody a new identity and make it permanent versus just holding it in the conscious mind being like, I'm confident, I'm confident, I'm confident. But when you say, I am confident and I'm going to act confidently right now, you're changing who you think you are and what you think you're made of and capable of. And that results in a permanent raise in your vibration instead of simply a temporary change in your mood or your vibe. What I find with many people during this process is as they're shifting identities or you're shifting timelines or you're jumping onto a new frequency of vibration, whatever language you want to use to describe this, you're having a rise in consciousness. You're elevating, right? So as you move up and you elevate into the new version of yourself, it feels different. And you will be able to know when you're feeling like the old you and you're feeling like the new you. You know, Neil Donald Walsh, I think it's in Conversations with God, says that feeling is the language of the soul. Our intuition is felt through feeling. So how do you know you're in the new versus the old? How you feel. I can't tell you that. I can't look at you and be like, oh, you must be in the old right now. Like, well, maybe I can based on some of your behaviors. But you are the one that knows how you feel in that moment. So it might look like this. You decide to be really empowered and you decide to be an elevated version of yourself. And then there's a moment where you're like, whoa, I feel really disempowered right now. I actually feel insecure right now. So it's an opportunity for you to be like, oh, I'm dropping back down into the old me. I'm not staying up here where I know I desire to be. And so in that moment, change your perspective, change your perception, change the story that you're telling about the situation, and actually choose to perceive it in a new way and to respond instead of react. So you're likely reacting. So that's how I know is if I'm in the new or in the old, is based on how I feel. But the other part of it though is with the contrast. So as you're ascending into a new experience of yourself, you will be given an opportunity to show up as that version. So let's say, for example, you want to be a very, very strong person. You've decided that you haven't felt that strength in yourself in the coming years, and you really want to feel strength. You want to be strength, and you're going to elevate to that idea or that state of being of strength. You will soon find that you will be given an opportunity for you to be strength. So something might come to light, something might happen, someone might need your help and you have to be the one to go rescue them. There will be a moment for you to go, oh, this is an opportunity for me to say and to prove that what I'm saying about me is actually true. So now I either get to be strength or I get to be weakness. Which one am I going to choose to be in this moment? So that's how you know whether or not you're in the new or in the old, is based on how you feel and the self-awareness the self-awareness of who you are. Some people are unaware. Many people are unaware, which just means they don't know what they don't know. And I lived for 37 years in my life completely unaware of who Kathleen was and is, where she really came from, and what my impact on this world could potentially be. I just didn't know. But once you know, and once you have that awareness, you can never go back. You're changed. So once you start to know yourself, this is where you regulate yourself, and this is where you pay attention and you pivot. So I often say manifestation is something that is done in solitude. It is something that is done within you. We have a community of people to support you. We have calls you can come on. We have courses that you can take, but none of it does for you. You must do for you. So it's actually the embodiment and the internalization of this information that the work is actually done. So that moment within you where you ask, who am I being today in this moment? That's embodiment. And that is permanent change in your life versus temporary change in your mood. So yes, I will help you to manifest more happiness, more joy, more peace, and to change things in your life temporarily, but then I will also teach you to actually call in way more than you've ever wanted and to continue to call it in for the rest of your lifetime. And remember, the limit does not exist.